And joining us now is CNN senior military analyst and former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, Admiral James Stavridis. He's also a partner at the investment firm, the Carlyle Group, and wrote the book, The Admiral's Bookshelf. Admiral Stavridis, thanks for being here with us. I want to start first with that Trump-Putin meeting. What do you make of this setup right now? Trump is going to meet with President Putin, even as Russia continues its nightly attacks on Ukraine.
Yeah, it feels kind of wrong, but at the same time, Winston Churchill, most quotable man in the world, said, better than war is jaw, meaning talk. So I'll take it. Let's get to the table. And I like it, frankly, that it's in Alaska. This is a territory the United States purchased from Russia. To me, it feels like we are summoning Vladimir Putin to the United States. I kind of like that, to be honest with you. And let's see what comes out of it. In terms of shape of the deal, Jessica, I think in the end, it's going to kind of be what you see is what you get. Putin is pretty dug in militarily. Expelling him from the territory he has now, I say this as a former Supreme Allied Commander, is going to be very difficult. I think it may well be time to create an outcome that at least temporarily puts Russia in control of these territories. They're already there. And as President Trump said, if something can be swapped that Russia holds that could go back to the Ukrainians, that's good. At the end of the day, the key here is the future of Ukraine. Can they join the EU? Can they ultimately join NATO? I think all that's on the table. We'll learn more as the conversation goes on this next Friday.
Certainly. And as I'm hearing you talk about this out loud, it sounds like you're saying that it may very well be that Russia has to keep, or will end up keeping, some of this land. And so what then of the protections, the security protections for Ukraine? That those would, I would assume, have to be quite ironclad at that point.
They absolutely do. You're spot on. And the way to do that is to tell Putin, okay, if we agree to a deal that gives you Crimea and some portion of the Donbass, here are the conditions. And you're showing the map here. And all this is very negotiable at this point. The deal would be Ukraine continues to receive significant weapons from the United States and the European Union. Ukraine can participate in training exercises. The F-16 fighter aircraft that have been given to Ukraine will continue to operate. Ukraine will be a sovereign state with a clear path toward the EU. I think all of that, in the end, is not a terrible deal. Look, I hate it, giving up any part of Ukraine. But the bottom line, as we say in North Florida, where I'm from, sometimes you got to be for what's going to happen anyway. Let's get the best deal we can coming out of this in a practical sense, and then watch Ukraine be reconstructed and become the South Korea at the end of the Korean War, the reconstruction. Today, South Korea, the 9th largest economy in the world. Ukraine's future could be quite bright coming out of all this.
Do you worry at all that rewards Putin, that he might do something like this again for more, land and power?
I do worry, but I look at the correlation of forces. Europe collectively, just Europe, leave the United States aside, is the 25% of the world's economy. They have the 2nd largest defense budget in the world collectively. They're all part of NATO, an immense organization. They have a population collectively, United States and NATO, of 10 times that of Russia. At the end of the day, if Russia is capable of biting off this 20% chunk of Ukraine, and I hate it, the Ukrainians hate it, I get that, but at the end of the day, I don't see Putin as a long-term threat because his country is weak economically, because they have mortgaged their future in this war. They've lost hundreds of thousands of young Russian men either killed, left the country, or grievously wounded. I don't see Putin as this malignant force that suddenly invades Europe successfully.
I also want to talk through what we're seeing in the Middle East as well, where Israel is now preparing for the operation to take over control of Gaza City. Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that the goal is to eliminate Hamas, that the only way to do this is by going in. Is that actually feasible?
It's going to be a huge military task. And let me give you a point of comparison from my own experience in the war in Iraq. The United States decided we would attack a city called Fallujah. It had a population of about 350,000. It took tens of thousands of U.S. Marines months to subdue this city of 350,000. Gaza City, Gaza has 2.2 million people. This is a significant military undertaking. I think the Israelis potentially are biting off more than they can chew here. And I think this is going to be very problematic for Israel going forward.
And an Israeli official tells CNN that security cabinet members shouted at the military chief during this 10-hour meeting where this was discussed and brushed off his concerns, that he was worried about this and they were shouting him down. There is real discord, it appears, between the politics of this and the military piece of this. What does that tell you?
It makes me very worried as a senior military officer. And I know the leadership of the Israeli Defense Forces very well. Going back to my time at NATO, when I worked with them constantly, General Benny Gantz, General Gabi Ashkenazi, the current leader, these are rock solid military professionals. The politicians in Israel would do very well to be listening to their advice.
All right. Admiral James Trevious, it's always a pleasure to have you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jess.